Hey girl, hey, it's your internet cousin Marquila here, back with another video. I make videos about faith, luxury, and confidence, and if that is something that you're interested in, be sure to click the subscribe button. If this is a video that you enjoy, please like it. That will help me to continue to grow my family over here. Y'all, we are 25 people strong, and I'm just so very, very grateful for every single one of you guys who take the time to watch my videos, to hear my thoughts, for those who have commented. I just want to say thanks, guys. It really means a lot to me. Today's video, we're talking more about a concept that I mentioned in my imposter syndrome video. If you have not watched that video, go right on ahead and add it to your playlist because it is chock full of ways that you can get over imposter syndrome. And one of those things that I talked about was turning the corner. And I wanted to make another video on turning the corner because there are so many things that you can do. So I'm going to give you 10 great ways that you can turn the corner, give yourself a jolt of joy, and move beyond whatever negative thoughts have been holding you back. If you're interested in those things, then keep on watching. So again, I talked about turning the corner in my last video, but basically this concept of turning the corner is just moving past your negative thoughts, moving past the experiences that you're having in your mind that may be holding you in a depressive state or making you feel anxious. I have had anxiety attacks, and so I know what that feels like. And a lot of times what we have to do to get ourselves from those physical representations of anxiety and depression require us to be very, very thoughtful, but also require us to move swiftly. So I wanted to tell you about 10 things that you can do right away, right when you're experiencing a moment of anxiety or a moment of depression, things that can really reroute your brain, reroute your mind, and get you the motivation that you need to just do anything. Okay. I mentioned in that last video that this is not toxic positivity over here. Okay. We are not saying that you just need to be happy. Just be happy. No, that's not it. And it's not real. We are humans and there are so many emotions that we experience, especially when we're struggling with confidence, when we're struggling with depression and anxiety. And so I don't want you to think that these 10 steps are rooted in toxic positivity or trying to get you to ignore your emotions. If you are in a place or in a state of emotional distress, there are lots of resources that are available to you for free. I'll have some of those things listed in the description box. But you know, if you're struggling with suicidal thoughts or if your negative emotions have really kept you from being able to operate your day-to-day life, be sure to get you a therapist. Be sure to reach out to your pastor or a counselor at your church. You would be surprised, even just a person, a member of the church that you attend, or just someone that you can seek godly counsel from, may be able to help you. And those are things that I am not saying you should not do. Go do those things. But these 10 things are things that you can do alone right away that will help you get yourself out of a negative mind space. Okay. The first thing, and I mentioned this in my last video, is to give yourself a set period of time that you will, experience that emotion and then to cut that emotion off. I talked about Mel Robbins, and she has a book called I talked about the book, I didn't talk about her, but she has a concept called the 5-second rule, and it's literally a countdown. It's like you give yourself the 5-second countdown before you go and be a rocket and you just go do. That is a very powerful way to shift your mind, but sometimes, just being real, 5 seconds is not enough. So if you're in a emotional state where you are really struggling, what I would suggest you do is just give yourself a time on the clock that you will no longer allow that emotion to wreck you. For example, if you're in the middle of an anxious moment or a depressive moment, you're emotional, you're crying, you can't stop tears. You can't say, okay, tears, you have until 5:47 and then I'm going to be done. But what you can do is you give yourself this thought to say, hey, at 5:47, I'm going to go and do something that will counteract these negative thoughts. It's easier said than done, but if you are watching this video, you already have the willpower to get yourself out of whatever negative state that you're experiencing or that you have experienced. And so you probably have more strength and more capacity than you really have been giving yourself credit for. So do a 5-second countdown or set yourself a timer, and then don't pretend like at that time you'll magically not experience those feelings anymore. But at that time, go and do some of the next things that we're going to talk about that will help you get your body and your mind to reroute. Okay? The second thing is to engage your senses. I did a trauma-based education training, and it was so amazing to hear this psychiatrist, talk about, the 5 senses and how when we're in a negative space, the 5 senses are often, in that fight or flight mode. And the way that you can kind of reroute that and get yourself out of that is by engaging those senses in a new or different way. She mentioned if you, are really kind of having like a hard experience, or if you're experiencing a lot of tension in your jaw. I'm a person who clenches my jaw when I'm stressed, that if you go and engage your senses, the sense of taste, that you can kind of force your jaw and your mouth to relax. So she mentioned utilizing, chocolate, because chocolate is an enjoyable thing. We all love chocolate. But you can also do this with lemon and citrus. A lot of times what I have found is that when I go and make myself a detox water with lemon, that I get energized. And yeah, there's science behind the vitamin C or whatever is in the lemon, but it's also just taking my senses from the thing that's already happening in my mouth to something new. And that really does get your brain to reroute. Put your hands or your feet, which have so many nerves in them, to something cold. Warm may work, but I found that if you, put your foot in some really cold water, put your hand in something really cold, or even take something really cold on the back of your neck, that's a really great way to reroute your mind, because your mind goes, oh, what is happening? So I have been in anxious states, people who experience anxiety attack, you can kind of feel the things that lead up to whatever is the actual anxiety attack experience that you have. For me, I hyperventilate, which is funny. I don't even know if a lot of people know that, but I do. When I am extremely anxious, I hyperventilate, and I will begin to find myself gasping for air. And so what I do is, before I get to that extreme place of hyperventilating, when I find myself starting to have tension in my chest, I will go and get something really cold, place it on the back of my neck, put it on my hands. And it really is important to get your body to start to move out of the places of negativity. Listening to music is really great, but be careful. I think that music sometimes can also encourage our emotions to go into the negative state. So I found myself years ago, I hated working in a cubicle. I hated working in a cubicle. And I found that I just needed to hear something that was, gonna get my brain to be less focused on how much I hated my cubicle. So I couldn't listen to classical music, and hip hop and stuff like that sometimes just would encourage me to be tense and make me angry, like, yeah, no, I don't need that. I needed something that was going to inject joy. And so what I would listen to is funk music, or music that is not necessarily something that you enjoy, but something that's going to engage your ears in something different. For others, classical music is really a great way to get your ears to kind of focus on something else, because your mind is hearing those thoughts, and sometimes you have to drown those thoughts out with sound. You could do sound bathing, which is something that, I'm not very versed in, but I've heard lots about, and, sounds like it would be really great. You could take time listening to chimes. Sometimes when I'm doing the Pomodoro method, which is like a productivity method for your time, the music, the clinging, the chimes really does help me to feel more productive and to kind of get myself out of my headspace. So that was taste, that was that was the sense of touch, that was auditory. I think that you should also really consider the beauty of closing your eyes and scrubbing your mind of what you see and then building the room back up. So I watched this really great video, and the person, what they did was they told us to close our eyes, and when we closed our eyes, we had to reconstruct the room or count out things in the room. You can do this also by picking a color, and then when you open your eyes, everything that is that color, you absolutely say out your mouth, you speak it. So for example, I'm gonna pick purple. I have a purple desk. My daughter has some purple stuff. There's a purple face on the poster over there. And when you kind of get your mind to stop being so focused on what you're feeling or thinking, and you give yourself that really basic task of like pointing out a specific color or a specific thing that is around you, it can get you out of that depressive moment just for that second so that you can move forward. And then lastly, okay, I said smell. Ooh, this is a really good one. So I believe wholeheartedly in the science of essential oils. I believe wholeheartedly in the science of essential oils. Ylang ylang is my go-to. It is very calming, but it also has lots of properties for hormone balance. And when I was in the throes of like breastfeeding and mamahood, and it was like, if I don't get something, I'm a freak out, I would just go and put some ylang ylang on my pressure points, put them behind my ears. And I'm telling you, it would change my mood, because it is so important for you to kind of surround yourself with smells that will help you, kind of reroute your day. Lavender is really good to calm or for sleep. And, there's lots of science about where to put essential oils so that you can smell them, but more importantly, so that they can get in your bloodstream and kind of do what they're supposed to do on the scientific side. High quality oil is also important. I have found that you can get oils from like Aldi's and things of that nature, but oftentimes they won't last as long. And so you'll have to reapply them and use them a lot more frequently than oils from places like doTERRA that are much more astringent and much more stronger, not much more, stronger. So that's my second suggestion to you, is to engage those 5 senses that will really help you. I said I was going to do 10, but I'm already 12 minutes in, so let me hurry it up. Another thing that you can do outside of engaging your senses and counting down or giving yourself kind of like a timeline, a deadline, if you will, on your negative spaces, is to give yourself freedom. Okay, I know I said to give yourself a deadline, but I also want you to give yourself freedom. Sometimes the reason why we're so negative in our minds is because we don't feel like we have the right to express our emotions. So if you are in an anxious place, give yourself the freedom to express your anxiousness. Open your mouth and say, I am anxious today. I don't want to do this today. I am angry. A lot of our anger is rooted in not being heard or not feeling like we're being heard. And so the greatest way that I keep myself in a space of emotional kind of clarity is that I'll do voice memos. I'll talk to myself. Y'all may not know this if you're new here, but this right here is here for a reason. I believe wholeheartedly in mirror affirmations and the importance of opening your mouth to express yourself. So sometimes we just have to give ourselves the freedom to say what we feel and to express it. You can do that with a therapist. Like I said, this is not against any therapist, but sometimes You got to get it out your heart, get it out your mind, get it off your soul, and you don't have time to wait for your therapy appointment, or you don't have people to go and talk to immediately. So don't be afraid to talk to yourself, to speak your truth. And that will give you a lot of freedom. I found that sometimes when I'm on the edge of an anxiety attack, me just opening my mouth and saying, I'm really anxious right now, is like, oh, I am really anxious right now. Well, I'm anxious because, and that process of speaking out my emotions really does help me turn the corner. If you have people around you, then share with them. But if you don't, share it with yourself. Okay. The fourth way that I would suggest that you can kind of turn the corner is through mirror affirmation. I am a huge believer in the importance of looking at yourself. So many of us, we record videos, we're on the internet, we're on Instagram, we're posting pictures, we take pictures, if you will, but we don't ever look at ourselves. We don't ever peer into our own eyes. There will be lots of videos about that coming up, just about mirror affirmation and how to do it and why you should do it. But I believe that if you're in the middle of a emotional state, I have been like shaking with tears and then looking at myself and my emotional state. Number one, it gave me a lot of compassion for myself because I see me. I see how hurt I am. I see how sad I am. And that opens my heart for compassion so that I can really deal with whatever I need to deal with and heal whatever needs to be healed. But I can also see myself. And sometimes we're emotional and sad and negative for no reason. And looking at yourself can really help you be like, girl, let me go wash my face. Which brings me to my fifth way, washing the stuff, okay? Get in the shower. Get in the shower. So many of us, when we're struggling with depressive habits, when we're struggling with anxiety, we just won't shower. We let our hygiene go. We'll forget to brush our teeth. We won't wash our face. And this is not so that other people can see you and you look good. This is so you can engage in caring for yourself. A lot of times when we hear about self-care, it involves nail salons and spas and money, okay? Spending money. But the reality is self-care is just taking the time to understand that your body should be nurtured. So the fifth way that I would encourage you, even if you already showered, right? Say you already showered, it's 10 o'clock, you had a terrible meeting, your boss is blowing you, you are figuring out how to get to your next thing and you're freaking out and you just need to do something. Go get in the shower. You will be surprised. And, if you want to engage those senses, like I mentioned before, you can have a cold shower. And that cold shower can kind of jostle your nerves, get your brain to be rerouted. But even if you just take a regular shower, warm shower, you would be surprised how washing your face, splashing water on your face can just get you out of a negative space. I found it to be very helpful to allow myself to care for myself in the basic way of, a shower. The sixth way, and this is going to require you to do a little more research. I'm going to show you some things, but there are hundreds of things that you can do. Your body is filled with nerves. There are nerves running through your body. And sometimes in order to reduce physical stress, in order to get ourselves out of negative physical spaces or out of somatic expressions of our stress, we need to do certain things to engage those nerves. So there is a pressure point. Don't judge me. Am I ashy? No, I'm not. There's a pressure point here in your hand. And there's lots of science around what pressing on this pressure point does for your brain. And you don't press on it for like 2 seconds. You keep on pressing on it. I'm still holding this pressure point. But you would be surprised in how engaging your body in these ways, engaging your nerves, can really reroute your brain and reduce stress. If you're a person who gets anxious or nervous in speaking in public crowds, or if you found yourself having a really hard time expressing yourself to a loved one, you might just need to, while you're talking, while you're in conversation with that loved loved one, hold your pressure point. And if you need to, or if they ask, you can explain to them like, hey, this is something that I'm doing because I want to reduce my stress. I want to reduce the amount of somatic expression of my stress as I have this conversation with you. Okay. Another really great thing to do is to massage your temples. Okay. But not just any old where, right? Be very specific and pointed in the places that you massage. If you go across your eyes, there's lots of nerves here on the skull, and if you massage those temples, right? We see people do this and they're like, and it's a meme, but the reality is it's a meme because it's a real thing that you can really do. So pressure points on your hands. You can do toe bends. Ooh, y'all, let me say something. When I say I be in the middle of conversations doing things that will help me to reduce my physical expression of stress. So y'all think the girlfriend is just out here confident and so good at speaking, and it's like, yes, I'm naturally gifted in that, but I also do lots of things to encourage myself and my physical body. Pressing on pressure points, finding, places on your body to massage is really helpful. If you can't afford a massage, go and get it. I know what it's like to not be able to afford a massage. So, girl, if you can't, don't worry about it. Just press on in between these fingers and you will be surprised how helpful it really can be. Okay, number 7. What I'm going to suggest you do is monitor your sleep. Okay, sometimes you are sleepy. So my children's pediatrician is a wonderful African-American woman. And she looked at me and she said, your children sleep 12 hours every night, don't they? And I said, for the most part, yes. And she was like, I can tell because they are very emotionally aware. I was like, okay. It's funny because, my friends and my family always joke about how early I put my kids in bed. But when I learned a lot about sleep and sleep patterns and the importance of sleep on the development of children, I also learned about sleep and sleep patterns and our own personal development, right? Our brains are no longer developing, but as souls, we are constantly progressing with our relationship with God. We're constantly learning new things every day. And so I would encourage you to really monitor your sleep. And if you're in a heightened state, just go take a nap. Okay? If you are like me and one of your depressive habits is just to sleep, right? I when I was struggling with depression in college, I would sleep for days. I would literally get up, eat a snack, and then go back to sleep. And so I would have, maybe 48 hours where I hadn't actually eaten a meal. And I think that if I could go back and talk to my 24-year-old self, I would be like, first of all, girl, you're not depressed. You sleep, you are oversleeping. You hungry, okay? So number 8, and this is not in the way that you engage your senses. This is not like getting a lemon or getting some chocolate or finding something sour to get your taste buds to send some signals to your brain so you can get out of that anxious moment. This is very specific and like have a nutritious meal. A lot of us think that we're angry or that we have negative responses to people. And what it really is that we have somatic stress in our gut, right? We have irritable bowel syndrome. Our stomachs are always hurting. And the reason why our stomachs are always hurting is because we're not eating properly and we're not eating healthy. So if you're in the middle of a negative experience, you need to go and get healthy food. Give yourself brain food, blueberries, fruits, crunchy celery, right? Which is really good, again, for that 5 senses, but it's also just fueling your body in the proper way. Sleep, take a nap, get up from that nap, and eat a healthy meal. If healthy food is not available to you, because that's a real thing, what I would suggest you do is reach out or look on the internet for food pantries, for places that you can go and get food for free. There are lots of companies in the city of Chicago that give free meals out at the end of the day, and you would be surprised at what having a healthy, sustained meal would do for your emotional wellness. So Number 9, kind of correlates with sleep and eat. So many of us are dehydrated. I read this study, and it was talking about how many of us confuse dehydration for stress and hunger. And for a lot of us, it's not that we're hungry. It's not that we have a headache because we're so stressed. We have a headache because we are dehydrated. So what I like to do at the very top of the day, sometimes I do it and sometimes I forget, but I always, at some point in my day, before I kind of get going, drink water. And I don't just like take me 2 sips of 4 ounces. No, baby, I will drink a whole 16-ounce bottle of water. Do be careful. Make sure that you monitor your body. If you do this and it makes you feel bloated or it makes you feel nauseous, be careful. Decrease your intake of water. But definitely drinking somewhere between 8 and 12 ounces of water and doing it will help your body, will give you the hydration you need to kind of get yourself out of those negative habits. And you would be surprised. Like, I know it sounds very basic to say sleep, eat, and drink water, but y'all ain't doing it. You ain't doing it. You need to actually pause the video and go get some water because you're thirsty. The last and final thing, and again, I talked about this in my, I talked about other things in my imposter syndrome. I talked about imposter syndrome video. I talked about prayer and devotion, and I'm not going to go into that. I want to talk about practical things that you can do to get yourself out of a negative experience. But the final thing that I would like to say is that you might need to engage your body. I hate working out. The concept of sweat is so disgusting. I don't work out, okay? Don't let me lie to you, okay? So I'm not saying to get up and go cycle. Girl, what I am saying is engage your body. A lot of us are tense because our bodies, our muscles are tense. And so if you're in the middle of a really emotional state, sometimes the best thing that you can do is the downward dog stretch. Now, there's lots of conversation, which I didn't even know was a thing until it was a thing, about yoga and Christianity. That's not what I'm talking about. I am not telling you to go do a yoga flow, but I am telling you to put your head beneath your heart. There's a lot of science about blood circulation and the importance of blood circulation for emotional regulation. And so what I would encourage you to do is literally just touch your toes. Bend over. If you can't actually touch your toes, get yourself as close to the ground as you can and rest there for 2 to 3 breath cycles. Take in deep breath and release that deep breath. You would be so surprised at how getting the blood to rush to your head and being careful about the way you rise back up so that you can get your blood to circulate again can really help you to get yourself out of these anxious moments. If you're in the middle of an anxiety attack, a lot of times what therapists or what medical professionals will suggest is that you get yourself in child's pose or fetal positions so that you can kind of embrace your body and also brace for impact. Some of us, when we're anxious, we knock about, we convulse. And a good way to kind of get your body to kind of redirect itself is to engage your physical body in nurturing poses and nurturing positions to help you. Another thing, if you're considering this, consider power poses. There was this study that was a whole big thing about how power poses can redirect your mind. And then there were more studies that kind of were following the same statistical data, and they debunked those and they said that, oh, it doesn't do anything. But I don't agree. I think that even if it doesn't do anything to release dopamine or serotonin or whatever is the other in the body, redirecting how you position yourself, your posture is really important. So you might notice that you're super hunched over, that you have a very regressed posture. Really open up the body. I like to go against the wall. and put my arms against the wall, put my back flush against the wall. And I found that opening my chest cavity and doing deep breaths can really reduce a lot of stress and tension that I have in my shoulders. If you are a person who struggles with somatic stress, that is stress that shows up in the physical body, you may be experiencing tension in your eyes or twitching in your eyes. You, again, might have your jaws tensed. So engage the body, stretch your jaw, look into things that you can do to stretch your body out, whatever area of your body that tends to hold stress. Do things that will really release tension in those things. Engage the body. If you a thug, okay, or if you about it and you want to go work out, do so, but stretch before. I think stretching and engaging the body is in gentle ways is really important. Okay, I hope that these 10 ways to turn the corner has been helpful. I know it's long, but girl, you got a lot of stress and you got a lot going on, so I hope that you will find these tips helpful. And if you made it all the way to this point and you're not subscribed, girl, you my cousin already. Can you just join the family? I love you. God loves you. The people that don't love you do not matter. And I want you to be strong and I want you to be confident. And I will talk to you soon.